Welcome back to another story on Echo Story. Before we begin, tell us where in the world are you watching from? Now, let's dive into today's story. As I sorted through the pile of mail on my desk, I noticed an envelope from Bellamy Gardens, the most prestigious wedding venue in the area. Odd, since I didn't recall ever receiving anything from them before. I slipped my finger under the seal and pulled out a neatly folded contract, the elegant letterhead glinting in the sunlight streaming through my apartment window. My coffee cup froze mid-air as I skimmed the document. There it was, my signature at the bottom of a contract authorizing payments totaling $76,000 for my sister Destiny's wedding. Except it wasn't my signature. Not really. The loops were too rounded, the slant too exaggerated. It was a convincing imitation, but I'd recognize my own handwriting anywhere. The room seemed to tilt as the realization hit me. This was Destiny's doing. Those distinctive flourishes at the end of each letter, the way she dotted her is slightly to the right. It was unmistakably her. She had forged my name on a $76,000 contract. My fingers went numb. The coffee cup slipped from my grasp, shattering against the hardwood floor. Dark liquid splattered across my bare feet, but I barely noticed. This couldn't be happening, I whispered to the empty room. I grabbed my phone with shaking hands and dialed the venue's number printed at the top of the contract. My heart pounded so violently I could feel each beat in my throat. Bellamy Gardens. How may I help you? A cheerful voice answered. This is Andy Collins. I managed to speak, my voice unnaturally high. I'm calling about a wedding contract for Destiny Collins. Oh, Miss Collins. Yes, we're so excited about your sister's special day. Everyone here is talking about your generous gift. It's not often we see such a beautiful gesture between siblings. The first tear slid down my cheek before I could stop it. My generous gift, the one I never agreed to. The one I had explicitly refused. Thank you, I choked out before hanging up. I sank into my chair, memories flooding back. 16-year-old me working double shifts at the ice cream shop while Destiny lounged by the community pool. My graduation. Money borrowed for her spring break trip to Cancun. The countless loans that vanished into the black hole of her desires. You're the responsible one, Mom would say, as if it were praise rather than a life sentence. Destiny's just finding herself. 2 months ago, at Sunday dinner, Destiny had flashed her enormous engagement ring, and Dad had looked at me expectantly. We were thinking, he'd said, refilling his wine glass. Since you've got that promotion coming, you could help give your sister the wedding she deserves. I'd felt everyone's eyes on me, waiting. My hands had trembled beneath the table as I found my voice. I can't afford that, I'd said, the words barely audible. I'm still paying off my student loans. The silence that followed had been suffocating. Mom's disappointed sigh, Dad's furrowed brow, Destiny's pout. Family takes care of family, Andy, Dad had finally said, his voice carrying the weight of authority that had shaped our entire childhood. That's how we raised you. Mom had reached across the table, patting my hand. Don't you want your sister to be happy? After everything you've accomplished, surely you can manage this one thing. But you have that promotion coming, Destiny had chimed in, as if my money were already hers to spend. The venue deposit is due next week. At that moment, I'd seen myself clearly for the first time, not as a daughter or sister, but as an ATM with a pulse, a resource to be tapped whenever Destiny needed something shiny and new. Now, staring at the forged contract, my phone pinged with a new email notification. I glanced down and saw the subject line, Interior Design Position. Charleston office interested in your portfolio? Eleanor from work had mentioned this opportunity last week, 3 states away, a fresh start. I picked up the contract again, running my finger over the forgery. All those years of sacrificing, of putting my needs last, of being the responsible one, and this was how they repaid me. With theft, with fraud. This ends now, I whispered, and something inside me shifted. something that felt dangerously close to strength. Sleep refused to come that night. At 3 a.m, my laptop screen illuminated my face as I searched through years of emails. My fingers felt numb, disconnected from my body as I typed wedding into the search bar. The results populated my screen. There, buried among wedding spam and Pinterest notifications, I found it. An email thread between Mom, Dad, and Destiny from 2 months ago. The subject line read, "Andy's contribution." My stomach twisted as I clicked. "She'll give in eventually," Mom had written. "She always does. Remember how she insisted she wouldn't pay for Destiny's car repairs last year? Within a week, she wrote the check. Destiny's reply appeared below. If not, we'll figure something out. She's got the credit for it." A wave of nausea washed over me. They weren't just asking for my help. They were planning to take it regardless of my answer. They'd been manipulating me for years. I whispered to my empty apartment. I opened a new spreadsheet and titled it Family Loans. With methodical precision, I scrolled through bank statements, credit card bills, and old emails. Each entry represented a broken promise, a debt unpaid. The summer I'd worked double shifts to lend Destiny money for her trip to Cancun. The graduation gift from Grandma that had disappeared into Mom's temporary need. Dad's business venture that had required just a small investment. By sunrise, the spreadsheet contained dozens of entries spanning nearly a decade. The total at the bottom glared back at me, $42,387, and now a $76,000 wedding venue on top of it all. I rubbed my eyes, burning from exhaustion and tears I refused to shed. The Christmas memory surfaced unbidden, Destiny's pleading voice as she borrowed my credit card for just one small gift for Mom. The January statement had shown $3,000 in charges from designer boutiques. My phone buzzed at 9 a.m., a text from Destiny. "Just saw the bridal suite at Bellamy? It's amazing. I'm thinking we should upgrade the flower package too. Only an extra $1,000 for Kelvin. Thoughts?" Attached was a photo of her posing in a plush room, champagne glass raised, her fiancé nowhere in sight. I didn't respond. 20 minutes later, Mom called. "Andy, honey, did you see Destiny's message about the flowers? The venue needs to know by tomorrow." "I'm not paying for flowers, Mom." My voice sounded stronger than I felt. A heavy sigh traveled through the phone. "This attitude isn't like you, Andy. What will people think if Destiny's wedding looks cheap? The Hendersons have already commented on how generous you're being. Everyone's talking about it. I never agreed to pay for anything. Family supports. Family, that's how we raised you." Her voice dropped, an expertly crafted mixture of disappointment and shame. "I just hope you're not becoming one of those selfish career women who forget where they came from." After we hung up, I checked my credit score, something I hadn't done since buying my car last year. The number had dropped nearly 40 points. A hard inquiry from Bellamy Gardens appeared in the activity log, along with a new line of credit. They hadn't just forged my signature. They were actively using my credit. My phone rang again. Eleanor from work. "Hey, did you think any more about that Charleston position? The hiring manager called me again yesterday. They're really interested in your portfolio." "I didn't realize they were that serious," I said, straightening in my chair. "The salary is 20% higher than what you're making now, plus relocation assistance." She softened her voice. "And frankly, Andy, you'd be away from all the family drama you've mentioned." For the first time in days, something like hope fluttered in my chest. After we hung up, I called James, the only friend who knew the full extent of my family's financial expectations. "They forged my signature, James. For $76,000. Silence. Hung between us. Then, "That's not normal, Andy. That's exploitation. That's a crime." His words landed like permission I didn't know I needed. What if I just left? "Honestly, it might be your only option. They'll drain you dry otherwise." Later, I sat at my kitchen table, updating my resume while Mom sent increasingly frequent texts about wedding details. My hands shook as I typed, but not from fear, from something that felt dangerously close to possibility. The interview was scheduled for Monday during my lunch break. While my family thought I was reviewing fabric swatches, I'd be interviewing for a job 3 states away. "Thank you for the recommendation," I told Eleanor when I saw her in the break room the next morning. "You've earned it," she said, squeezing my shoulder. "Your designs are exceptional. Charleston would be lucky to have you." For the first time in weeks, I smiled, really smiled. I pictured a life where my paycheck belonged to me, where no one had access to my credit cards, where family gatherings didn't end with my bank account lighter. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. Destiny added monogram napkins to the reception. Only $3 per guest. We're at $300 now. Will you call the venue to approve? I silenced the phone and slid it into my desk drawer. Then I opened my calendar and blocked Thursday lunch for important personal business. 3 states might not be far enough, but it was a start. Sunday dinner at my parents' house felt like walking into a trap. Before I even hung up my coat, Aunt Mabel cornered me with a teary-eyed hug. "You sweet, generous girl," she said, patting my cheek. "Funding Destiny's entire wedding, your mother told everyone." My stomach twisted. "I think there's been a misunderstanding." "Andy," Mom swooped in, linking her arm through mine. "The Hendersons were just asking about the venue. Come tell them how you insisted on Bellamy Gardens." The living room buzzed with relatives and family friends, all smiling at me with approval I hadn't earned and didn't want. Dad stood by the fireplace, holding court. "My daughter Andy wouldn't hear of anything less than the best," he boasted to his golf buddies. "She said Destiny deserves a perfect day." Words I'd never said, a generosity I'd never offered. Destiny fluttered between groups, the center of attention in a pale pink dress. She caught my eye across the room and bounced over, something large cradled in her arms. "Look what arrived today." She thrust an elaborate floral arrangement at me, crystal teardrops hanging from silver-dusted roses. "Sample centerpieces. Only 12 per table, and we need 30 tables minimum. I told them you said the sky's the limit." "30 tables?" My voice came out strangled. "How many people are you inviting?" Mom appeared with her leather-bound planner. "We're at 300 now. That feels right for our family, don't you think?" 300 guests. At a venue I'd never agreed to pay for. My head pounded. "The final guest count is due next week," Destiny continued, oblivious to my expression. "Oh, and the planner needs your credit card for the deposit on the ice sculpture." The room spun slightly. I mumbled something about needing air and escaped to the back porch. Monday morning I sat in my car during lunch, heart hammering as my laptop screen filled with the face of Gregory Winters, creative director at Charleston Home and Design. "Your portfolio shows remarkable restraint," he said, studying something off-screen. "Most designers your age overdo it, but your spaces breathe." "Thank you. I believe in creating rooms people actually want to live in." My voice came out steadier than I expected. "What salary range are you looking for?" 3 months. This question would have made me stammer apologies for wanting to be paid. Today, something shifted. "Based on my experience and the Charleston market, I'm looking for $82,000 annually, plus standard benefits." The words emerged clear and confident. Gregory raised his eyebrows, impressed rather than offended. "That's precisely our range for this position." When he made a joke about Southern hospitality being more than just a saying in Charleston, I laughed. A real laugh that startled me with its authenticity. "We'll be in touch very soon," he promised as we wrapped up. I sat in my silent car afterward, realizing my hands hadn't trembled once. During that week, I gathered my documents for the confrontation, and that's how the week passed. Saturday brunch arrived with an unwelcome surprise. I was buttering toast when the doorbell rang. Who could that be? Mom asked with a performance of confusion. The answer came in the form of Marissa Williams, wedding planner extraordinaire, who breezed into the dining room with 3 bulging portfolios. "Andy, finally we meet," she said, extending a manicured hand. "Your sister speaks so highly of you. Now, I brought the updated invoices for your approval." "My approval?" I asked, accepting the folder she thrust at me. I flipped through pages of extravagant expenses, custom champagne flutes, monogrammed napkins, a string quartet, imported orchids. Each bore a notation. A. Collins approval required. "These charges seem excessive," I said carefully, watching Destiny from the corner of my eye. "What's this $10,000 line item for lighting?" Marissa frowned. "But your sister said you specifically requested premium theatrical lighting for the dance floor." Destiny's face drained of color. "Andy loves dramatic lighting." "Right. Andy? Could I see all the contracts, please?" My voice remained calm despite the rage building in my chest. "Andy's just being thorough," Mom interjected, reaching for the coffee pot. "Marissa, have you tried my cinnamon rolls? Let me fix you a plate." As they bustled toward the kitchen, I snapped photos of the invoices with my phone. That evening, James brought takeout and legal research to my apartment. "In this state, you can break a lease without penalty if you can prove identity theft," he said, spreading papers across my coffee table, "especially with documentation showing your signature was forged." Eleanor sent 3 links to affordable apartments in Charleston's north area. "Not glamorous," her message read, "but clean, safe, and 20 minutes from the office." I clicked through the virtual tour of a 1-bedroom with a small balcony. The rent was reasonable. The distance from my family, priceless. The official email arrived in my private inbox on Tuesday morning. I got the job. The salary matched what I'd requested. The start date was 3 weeks away. I drove to an empty parking lot to make the call. "I'm delighted to accept," I told Gregory, my voice strong and certain. That night, I digitally signed a lease agreement for the Charleston apartment. The move-in date aligned perfectly with my escape plan. 2 more weeks until I escape, I whispered to my reflection. Standing in my apartment on Friday night, I surveyed what I'd built through years of hard work. The vintage desk I'd refinished. Myself. The watercolor I'd splurged on after my first promotion. The bookshelf filled with design references. On my dresser sat a photo from my design school graduation. I was beaming, proud, and hopeful, unaware of how my family would use that hope against me. Tears slid down my cheeks, but they felt different, cleansing rather than broken. "I deserve to keep what I've earned," I said aloud to the empty room. The weekend became a strategic operation. I recorded Mom discussing Andy's contribution to the wedding. I organized bank statements showing unusual charges. I documented every text where I explicitly refused to pay. Monday morning, I called a moving company. "We need to schedule for a specific time," I explained. "The 14th, around noon." "We can do that," the scheduler confirmed. "Any particular reason for the precise timing?" "Yes," I said, drafting an email to the Bellamy Gardens venue explaining the signature forgery. "My family will be at a cake tasting." The moving day arrived with perfect weather. From my window, I watched Mom's SUV pull away with Dad, Destiny, and the wedding planner inside. My phone vibrated continuously with Destiny's messages about fondant options. 10 minutes later, the moving truck rumbled into the parking lot. I took a deep breath, my hand on the doorknob. The movers headed up the stairs as my phone lit up again. 7 missed calls from Destiny in the last 3 minutes. The game is beginning, I thought. I smiled and opened the door to my future. "We'll start with the labeled boxes," I told the 2 men in matching blue uniforms. My voice sounded foreign to my ears, steady, authoritative, nothing like the hesitant murmur I'd used around my family for 27 years. Inside, I handed the movers a detailed floor plan while dialing my landlord. Mr. Peterson answered on the second ring. "I've documented the identity theft situation," I explained. sliding the folder of evidence into my messenger bag. The lease break fee should be waived under tenant protection laws. Wouldn't want this happening to my own daughter, he said after reviewing my documents. I'll have the paperwork ready tomorrow. I hung up, a small victory warming my chest. The movers worked with military precision, wrapping my carefully curated furniture pieces while I sat cross-legged on the floor, laptop balanced on my knees. With a few keystrokes, I transferred my accounts to the Charleston branch. Another click canceled my credit cards, requesting new numbers for the replacements. My phone buzzed. Mom's name flashed on the screen, the 5th call in 30 minutes. I silenced it, but seconds later the voicemail notification appeared. Andrea. Collins, Mom's voice began catching. Where are you? The venue needs decisions on lighting packages by 3. Call me immediately. I let the message play to completion, then deleted it without replying. Outside my window, the sun set over Charleston, painting the sky in colors I'd never seen in my old life. Some bridges burn for a reason. I closed my eyes and breathed deeply, feeling the weight of 76,000 expectations finally lifting from my shoulders. 4 days after moving, the text messages arrived like a swarm of hornets, 23 in the first hour after Mom discovered my empty apartment, 37 more by nightfall. How could you abandon your family? Mom wrote. Dad's voice crackled through my voicemail. There could be legal consequences for backing out now, Andy. Think about what you're doing. I placed my phone on the coffee table of my new Charleston apartment, watching it vibrate with incoming calls. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the hardwood floors. I'd been here exactly 4 days, and already it felt more like home than any place I'd lived before. Aunt Meredith called next. Your mother is hysterical, dear. Everyone's so confused about what's happening with the wedding. Can't you just come to your senses? I let her message play to completion, noting how easily my relatives had been enlisted as reinforcements. The calendar on my kitchen wall showed the wedding date circled in red, 1 week from today. My phone lit up with Destiny's name. Against my better judgment, I answered. You selfish, ungrateful witch, she hissed. After everything we've done for you. Everything you've done for me? I repeated, my voice steady in a way that surprised me. Pay for the wedding, or you're dead to me, she said. Simple as that. That's your choice to make, I replied, ending the call before she could respond. My laptop screen glowed as I opened my email. The document I'd spent weeks preparing was attached, ready to send. I clicked on it one last time, reviewing each element. A formal letter to Bellamy Gardens explaining the forged signature. A handwriting analysis report highlighting the differences between my signature and the forgery. An audio file of Destiny telling her maid of honor I signed Andy's name as a favor to push things along. I pressed send. Within the hour, my phone rang with an unfamiliar number. The venue manager's voice was professionally restrained, but I heard the underlying tension. Miss Collins, we've received your email. This is highly unusual. We'll need to speak with your sister and parents immediately. I understand, I said. I've also notified my lawyer to contact the credit bureaus. The contract was signed without my consent or knowledge. After the call ended, I drafted one more email, this one to my extended family. I kept my explanation dignified, factual, no accusations, just evidence. I attached copies of text messages, where I explicitly refused to pay, bank statements showing the pattern of financial exploitation, and the venue's confirmation that the signature didn't match my identification. My phone began ringing again almost immediately, but not with the calls I expected. It was my cousin Thomas. Holy smokes, Andy. The venue just called Uncle Jim demanding immediate payment or they'll cancel everything. What's going on? Ask Destiny, I said. Or better yet, ask her fiancé's parents. I believe they've just been informed about the forged contract. Over the next few hours, reports filtered in through family text chains, wedding guests receiving postponement notices, my parents frantically calling relatives asking for emergency loans, Destiny in tears at the florist, canceling the exotic arrangements, the groom's father insisting on a prenuptial agreement. When my phone finally went silent around midnight, I poured a glass of wine and stepped onto my small balcony. The Charleston night air wrapped around me like a warm blanket. For the first time in years, my shoulders weren't tight with tension. When I called Destiny the next morning, she answered on the first ring. "Come to apologize?" Her voice was rough from crying. "No," I said, the word clean and simple on my tongue. "I forgive you, but I won't forget. You've ruined everything." "I've started over," I corrected her. "Charleston is beautiful. My new firm values my work. My apartment gets morning sun. We're your family," she whispered. "The wedding bill is the consequence of your choices, not mine," I said. "Maybe it's time you learned what that feels like." I ended the call before she could respond, placing my phone back on the counter. According to James, who still lived in my old city, my parents had spent yesterday meeting with loan officers. Destiny had downsized from 8 bridesmaids to 4. The extravagant ice sculpture had been cancelled, along with the fireworks display and the designer gown. My mother's final voicemail arrived that evening as I was arranging books on my new shelves. "Andy," she began, her voice catching. "We never meant for it to go this far." I let the message play to its end, then deleted it without replying. Outside my window, the sun set over Charleston, painting the sky in colors I'd never seen in my old life. Some bridges burn for a reason. I closed my eyes and breathed deeply, feeling the weight of 76,000 expectations finally lifting from my shoulders. 3 months later, the morning light streamed through my Charleston apartment windows, catching the spines of my design books as I arranged them on the reclaimed wood shelves. 3 months ago, these same books had been packed in hurried desperation. Today, they stood as colorful sentinels of my new life. I smoothed my hand over the coffee table I'd found at a local antique market, feeling the grain of the wood beneath my fingertips. My apartment was modest, but mine, truly mine, with no financial ghosts lurking in the corners. My phone buzzed with a project reminder. I adjusted my blazer, caught my reflection in the hallway mirror, and noticed something different in my posture. My shoulders no longer hunched forward, carrying the invisible weight of family obligation. The southern sunrise bathed my small balcony in gold as I sipped my coffee. The lightness I felt wasn't just the absence of debt. It was the presence of possibility. 3 months into my new position, Marcus, the senior designer, leaned against my desk on Friday afternoon. "Andy, we need these concept boards finalized for Monday's presentation. I know it's your weekend, but..." He trailed off, expectation hanging in the air. "I'm sorry, but I have plans this weekend," I replied, surprised by the steadiness in my voice. "I'd be happy to come in early Monday to help finalize everything." His eyebrows lifted slightly. "Really? I figured you'd be all about some brownie points." "I value my personal time," I said. The word "no" rested comfortably on my tongue instead of sticking in my throat like it used to. "I'll deliver excellent work during work hours." Later, walking along King Street, I marveled at how easily that boundary had formed. No rehearsal needed. No guilt afterward. My therapist's office had become a weekly sanctuary where family patterns were dissected with clinical precision. "The first time you say no is the hardest," she'd told me during our initial session. "Each time after gets a little easier." My journal entries confirmed this. First week in Charleston, woke up panicking about money. Last week spent the whole day exploring without checking my phone once. The genuine laughter that bubbled up during lunch with my new colleagues startled me. At first, it sounded foreign to my own ears after so many months of tension. My housewarming gathering was small but vibrant a week later. Eleanor had flown down for the weekend, bringing a potted fiddle-leaf fig that now stood proudly by my living room window. James had sent a care package with a handwritten note. "Proud of you" doesn't begin to cover it. Eleanor raised her glass to new beginnings and true family, the kind we choose. I blinked back tears, realizing family wasn't always determined by blood, but by who showed up when it mattered. When Tara, our junior designer, confided about a client demanding extra revisions without payment, I recognized the familiar pattern. "Your work has value," I told her, sharing my boundaries without sharing my scars. "And so do you." The satisfaction of helping someone avoid the path I'd traveled felt like closing a circle. When the email with pictures of Destiny's significantly downsized wedding appeared on my screen, I felt no surge of vindication. I simply sent a congratulations card online and continued with my day. The absence of anger surprised me most, not because I'd forgiven, but because I'd moved beyond needing to. At sunset, I stood at the Charleston waterfront, the letter from my mother heavy in my hands. The envelope contained the first hints of genuine remorse I'd seen in years. I didn't rush to respond. The guilt that would have consumed me months ago had been replaced by quiet acceptance. "Some bridges burn for a reason," I whispered to the horizon, watching the sun sink into the harbor. The water stretched endlessly before me, full of directions I might choose to sail. Is forgiveness always necessary for healing? Or is sometimes walking away the greatest gift you can give yourself? I didn't know the answer yet, but for the first time I had the space to figure it out on my own terms.